I, 28, have been with my fiancé Adam since teen years. When we began dating, I met his best friend Nicole, 28. Since I met her, nothing but red flags. The whole time, she flirted with Adam, ignored me. To be honest, I was mad with Adam that night too, because he never took any action to even introduce me. I have bad social anxiety and autism and need help in new things. Adam knew this since day one. It got even worse when it became evident that Nicole was a huge idiot. I am white, so is Adam, but my best friend is black, so this was not okay with me. After that night, Adam was talking about having a get-together with everyone, me, Nicole, and my friend. I broke down and told Adam how I felt and why I was upset he didn't say anything. He was very apologetic, and I have not had direct contact with Nicole since then, but she still talks with Adam. Now, Adam and I are getting married next fall. Last week he explained that Nicole reached out to him about the wedding since he announced the wedding on Facebook. She asked if invites had been sent yet, and Adam told her the truth and that she hadn't gotten one because I was not okay with her coming. She got very upset and was using pretty much any insult she could about me over text and said I had no real reason to dislike her. I talked to my maid of honor Cam, 27. Cam told me that the reason I disliked her was valid. She told me to reach out to Nicole myself to set the record straight. Cam is the friend I mentioned before. So, I messaged her and told her the truth. That when we were still teens, she disrespected my relationship by openly flirting with him in front of me many times and by refusing to accept that I existed for months. And to top it all off, I said that my maid of honor and I were simply not okay with her worldview. I told her that until she apologizes for her actions, recent or not, she will not be getting any wedding invites in the mail. She left me on scene. Next day Adam was pissed with me, and when asked why, he said that Nicole was in his messages telling him how I'm a hateful idiot and that I'm just jealous I've known Adam for less time than her. She sent him forged screenshot of me saying some nasty things that were never actually said. During my whole convo with her, I was nothing but civil, though my petty spirit wanted to say other things. After I calmed Adam down and showed him the real convo, he moved his anger to Nicole, but still told me I should consider her for the wedding because she's his friend and he would feel weird without her. I'm not gonna lie, I did laugh. Because I was in shock that despite her clear as day hatred of both me and my maid of honor, he still is defending her. I told him after her behavior, she clearly has no intentions on changing, and at this point she's not getting invited, whether she apologizes or not, and I'm sorry, but his friend can't come. He's been giving me the silent treatment and only talking when needed since. Am I the idiot? Your fiancé are remaining best friends with someone who disrespected your relationship all these years and who lied about you to him with a forged message which he chose to believe and then giving you the silent treatment when proven wrong. These all sound like extremely poor qualities in a husband. He's being pretty pathetic about all of this. She's being downright abusive towards you and he's choosing to enable it. It's pretty disturbing that he's not upset about how this cow is treating his soon-to-be wife and that he actually is angry with you for standing up for yourself. I'd be questioning where you are in his priorities compared to her and asking him how committed he really is to you. If you plan on going through with this wedding, you never let that man be alone with her again. I'll be honest, in my historical experience, him taking her side and giving you a silent treatment is signs that he is emotionally involved with her past a point of friendship. Because friends who treat your fiancé poorly are dropped quickly. Friends you have more than friendly affection for are forgiven and their sins forgotten too quickly. This girl is the idiot. She's in your man's brain. Don't let them be alone together. She is manipulative and wanted him for herself. It's clear Adam cares more about her than about you. I'm a guy, and I cannot fathom his rationale to continue supporting his idiot friend who forged a convo to make herself look better against his fiancé. I'm sorry OP, but it's better that you found out before the wedding. Toss him back and look for someone better. I know how difficult it can be, but you do not want to spend your entire life tied to that idiot through him. I'd also not be surprised if the flirting and more continued. My mom died during childbirth with me. My dad gave me her name as my middle name, so she would always be with me. He also gave me the name she picked for me as a first name. When I was 6 he met Nora and they got married when I was 8. Nora bonded with me instantly. She wanted to be my mom and for me to be her daughter. I thought she was okay but always seemed very pushy and insecure. It bothered her that my mom chose my first name and that my middle name was my mom's first name. It bothered her that I would kiss my mom's photo goodnight, that my dad still talked about her with me, and that her presence was still very much in our lives. When I was 10, Nora brought up the idea of adding a second middle name for me so I could carry both my mom's names with me. My dad asked me how I felt about it and I told him I didn't want to. He said that was the end of the conversation. She continued to ask me at random over the next 7 years. This last time she talked about how my half-sisters both had her first name as a middle and how nice it would be to tie the three of us together like that. I told her that I will never ever add her name to mine. That I have said no repeatedly, and unless she wants me to tell dad she has continued to bring it up, then she needs to drop it. She told me how carrying both moms was special. I told her she is not my mom. And her jealousy is a huge part of the reason I never bonded with her that way. But that she was driving me crazy over the name thing and I am tired, so I wanted her to hear loud and clear for the final time, it was never happening in a million years, and nothing would change my mind. She has been so upset since. It's been about 3 weeks, and she told me I chewed her up and spat her out and showed no care for her feelings. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. She sounds like she's got some issues to work through. I don't know if it's jealousy, narcissism, or being overpossessive, but your stepmom is not right for continuing to ask you to change your middle name to honor her in some weird way. I'd talk to your dad about this. He needs to be aware of what's going on. This isn't normal behavior, especially being that defeated when you refused her unreasonable request. There are 0 reasons for her to add her name in any way to yours. She's your stepmother, not your mother. She may be motherly, and she might want more, but I find it really uncomfortable that she's trying to either add herself to your identity or remove your mother. Naming a child is something you do at birth. Unless you were getting adopted into a new family with a new last name, there are 0 reasons for your name to be futzed around with at all. Marriage is one of those take it or leave it things with name changes. This is highly unusual and makes me uncomfortable in a weird way. I'd stand your ground and maybe bring it up to your dad that you're not okay with her insecurity with you being born by another woman cropping up so frequently. You set a healthy boundary and she repeatedly crossed it. As you said, it seems like she's insecure about your mom's presence in your father's lives all these years. She probably thinks that as long as you care about her, it diminishes her place in both of your lives. But it doesn't matter if she died at childbirth, a child only has one mother, unless they decide to let someone be a second mom. If you do care about her, tell her that she has a special place in your life that's not maternal. Just because you don't see her as a mother figure doesn't mean you don't care about her, but her insistence that you view her that way makes you uncomfortable. I'm sure if your dad knew about this he'd be upset. Stand your ground, and if she doesn't stop asking you need to tell him. I, 47, have 2 sons from my past marriage. Abel 16 and Michael 15. When I got remarried 6 years ago, Abel was very accepting and got on great with his new stepmom Lori. Michael put up a fuss and was adamant about being with his mom full time. I fought like hell to keep him in my custody, but once he hit 13 the agreement changed anyways. He stays with his mom half the month and with us the other half. We moved last year and Lori and Abel have spent time decorating Abel's room and making it his own. Michael was offered the same thing recently. Lori offered to take him to IKEA, Best Buy and some other store to find some new furniture and have a day to put the room together. He said he'd think about it and she respected that but still showed him paint colors, beds and stuff to get him excited about it. Last weekend he came home with a pod full of furniture his mom bought him. I asked him about it and he said his mom helped him pick out the furniture and was coming around in a few to help him build it and arrange everything. I told Lori as a heads up and she was absolutely crushed. I took my son aside and told him the kind and fair thing to do would be to invite Lori to help. He said no. And told me he wanted to build with his mom. Unbeknownst to me, Lori did try to join them and asked if they needed help, and my son sent her away and locked the door so she wouldn't come back. After Lori told me this, I grounded him for the week and told him at least he'd enjoy the room his mom helped decorate. He of course left early to his mother's and told me he'd see me on our next rotation. Lori is saying I shouldn't have grounded him for spending time with his mom, and my ex-wife is saying, if I keep treating him like this, I won't see Michael outside of holidays and birthdays. The more you try to force a relationship between your son and your new wife, the more you will make your son resent both her and you. Back off. He is allowed to have his own feelings, even if they don't make you happy. After all, you're splitting with his mom, and getting remarried made him unhappy, right? This sub is full of adults who had divorced parents, and every single one who had a parent or step-parent try to force a relationship ended up hating those parents. It's nice that Abel is okay with the situation, but if you actually care about Michael's mental health, you will back off. For everyone's sake. You're the idiot. You can't force a relationship between your son and your current wife. You got married by choice. He got a new housemate where he had no say in the matter. Your wife is not his mom, and she's barely his stepmom. There is a legal relationship due to your marriage, but there is no way in which she's stepping into the place of his mother. If there is a task that you would typically rely on his mother to do, then you need to go to his mother, not try to push him to do a mother thing with your wife. Mitchell doesn't have to spend time with your wife. What he did was insensitive, inviting your ex to your house without asking. But it's ridiculous to ground him for not wanting to decorate his room with your wife. He clearly hates being at your house and is at an age where he can choose to stay with his mom full time, so why break your relationship with him even more? Let it go, man. He didn't do anything to her other than uphold his boundary of not wanting to spend time with her. I lost my husband due to COVID when I was about 3 months pregnant. Don't let that affect your judgment against me though. After he died, my mother-in-law thought it would be a great idea to name the baby after him if it was a boy, which I agreed with at the time because I was just so overwhelmed with emotion. She said it would be like he's still there in a way. When my son got here, even though I still wanted to honor him, I'm not so sure I wanted to name the baby after my husband. I feel like that's just sticking to the past and that my baby should be his own person. So, I gave him a different name on his birth certificate. When I made the announcement on Facebook that baby Lucas had arrived, I started getting confused comments from my mother-in-law. She called me a few hours later, asking why I had broken the promise. I told her my reasoning and that I just wanted to move on in a healthy way. That I felt like calling my husband's name when referring to my son would hurt me and make the process harder. Now, she didn't yell at me. But she did say how disrespectful it was to my husband to not include him in my son's life in some way. She also brought up the fact that I had not even told her or his extended family that I was changing my mind. I told her personally that I felt like I didn't need to, as she was just my mother-in-law, not my husband. That's when she raised her voice. Said she had been waiting all this time to meet her grandson and now she doesn't even want to see him. I said that was fine and hung up. I do feel bad that I didn't honor the promise, but I feel like I don't owe her or anyone anything. Am I the idiot? Everyone's the idiot here, and not because you chose a different name. I feel like your husband's family is trying to treat your son as a replacement for your dead husband, and that's not fair to the child. But she is also grieving, and you, A, not telling her about your decision to name him something different, and B, telling her she's just your mother-in-law was probably extremely hurtful. Your child is also her son's child. She doesn't have the right to tell you what to name him, and you had no obligation to tell her about your decision, but it would have been the courteous thing to do so she wasn't blindsided. This woman lost her child. You made a promise to honor him, in naming his child after him, you decide not to, and decide not to give her a warning or courtesy explanation. And then wonder why she's upset. You're not an idiot because you decided against a name, because I fully understand why it would be painful for you, but you did owe the woman a conversation. For God's sake. Have some empathy. She gave birth to your child's father, raised him, and loved him. Her pain and loss are on par, if not worse than yours. Again, you're not an idiot for changing your mind, but 100% as an idiot for the callous disregard for a woman who suffered the greatest loss a human can suffer, the loss of a child. Shame on you. Everyone's the idiot here. You can name your son whatever you want, but I do think it would have been nice to let your mother-in-law know that you had changed the name, rather than having her find out on Facebook. You both are still grieving the loss of your husband. Plus you are a mother now, so maybe you could understand how it would feel to lose a child. Mother-in-law is the idiot for saying she doesn't want to see her grandson now. I think it was said out of pain as a way to hurt you, but it was still a stupid and uncalled for thing to say. Plus it doesn't sound like you really care if your mother-in-law is or isn't in your son's life. Background: my partner, 46, and I, 31, have been together for 8 years and have been engaged now for 3. We had a big wedding planned pre-pandemic and understandably postponed it twice because of lockdown restrictions. After the second postponement, my father, 55, passed away suddenly and we postponed again because I was broken. My dad's family fell out with us, me and sibling, when my dad died over funeral plans, inheritance issues. They basically wanted to ignore my dad, my sibling, and my wishes and do what they want, so in terms of family, it is just me and my sibling now. Mum passed in 2014. My partner's family started hassling us about the wedding because restrictions are pretty much gone, everyone in our circle is vaxxed and can travel, partner's family from another country. My partner and I paid for and will pay for everything, so it's not like his family have a financial stake here. I am really struggling with the idea of getting married without my dad or my family there. When our mum died, my brother and I both had severe depression, and our dad, who just lost his wife, picked us up and carried us through. We were 22 and 24 at the time, so independent adults. I can't stress enough how incredible a man and father my dad was, and how shattering losing him so young has been. The big attraction to the wedding for me was dreams of him walking me down the aisle and making an embarrassing speech. I can't picture a big wedding without my dad. My partner is completely fine with waiting, so it's not an issue between us. Future mother-in-law and sister-in-law were on Zoom with us and brought up the wedding again, looking for an update on when we were having it. I shrugged and said we weren't thinking about that just yet. Sister-in-law exploded and said it wasn't fair for me to hold my partner to ransom because of my daddy issues and that they deserved a wedding after spending so long in lockdown. Partner gently said he isn't being held to ransom and is fine with waiting. We've been together 8 years, a ring on the finger isn't a big deal. Mother-in-law said that if we didn't pick a date to hold the wedding next year in the next week, then she had no intention of coming, and sister-in-law agreed. I removed myself from the situation and heard my partner arguing with him. My partner and I decided to cancel the wedding and we let everyone know by sending out cards. We lost a lot of money as most things had been paid for already. Mother-in-law and sister-in-law are furious and not speaking to either of us. It wasn't worth it to us to have a wedding with none of my family and his family being completely disrespectful to us. We plan to tie the knot privately at some point, but a big wedding is now completely off the cards. His family is sticking by mother-in-law and sister-in-law. Are we the idiots? Not the idiot. You have every right to want your family at your wedding. If his family has an issue with that, that's their issue. This is your wedding, not theirs. If your partner is fine with waiting, then there's no issue. Side note: your partner sounds amazing for standing up to you the way they did. I've had to defend my girlfriend multiple times to my family, and it's not easy. Not everyone can do it, and I'm genuinely happy for you to have someone who will stand up for you. I am terribly sorry for your loss, both your mum, your dad and your dad's family. That is a lot to go through and process. I'm glad you have such a supportive and loving partner who has your back through all of this and understands the significance of your dad's role in the wedding. I think a private thing for the two of you, with your sibling and maybe some close friends, or just the two of you, is such a great idea. Not the idiot. No one but you and your fiancé gets to decide when and what type of wedding you have. Your mother-in-law and sister-in-law are disrespectful to you and your fiancé. I am sorry for your loss and that your families aren't more supportive in this difficult time. Your fiancé is a keeper, though. He has your back. You have one another's back, I should say. Best wishes for the future.